All right, ready to dive into something pretty wild. Today we're looking at hypnochanneling, specifically Naomi's work over on her YouTube channel, Hypnovibes.
Yeah, her approach is really something. Instead of going into the subconscious of the person she's hypnotizing, she uses it to channel energies, almost like tapping into a collective consciousness.
Whoa, okay, so we're not talking about your typical past life regression stuff here. This is more about like connecting to a universal wisdom.
Exactly. The idea is that the messages, the insights, they're coming from this channeled energy, not from the person being hypnotized, but something bigger.
That already has me intrigued. We were going to take a look at one session in particular, the one where Naomi works with, what was it called? Mushroom energy? What's that all about?
So in this session, Naomi is exploring the insights you can get from this mushroom energy, and she compares it to what people experience with ayahuasca.
Hold on. Mushroom energy. Is that like actual energy from mushrooms she's channeling?
That's a really good question, actually. It's not totally clear if it's like literal energy from mushrooms or if it's symbolic of a certain type of energy. But what's interesting is that both mushroom energy and ayahuasca are shown as like tools to access deeper levels of consciousness.
So it's more about the intention, the kind of energy being channeled, rather than where it's coming from specifically.
Precisely. And Naomi really emphasizes that the person's mindset, their own energy, it plays a huge role in the experience and how deep of a connection they make.
It's like you have to be open and receptive to actually tap into that universal wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. And that ties into a key concept that comes up, this idea that we're all connected to this higher energy already, but our human limitations kind of get in the way, the things Naomi calls our armor and the ways we're so used to thinking.
So then how do you even begin to tap into that kind of energy? Especially if it's like our own minds are getting in the way.
That's where the hypnosis comes in. Naomi seems to use it as a way to get past those limitations and access the truth that might be hidden underneath.
So it's almost like hypnosis is acting as a bridge to this higher consciousness.
Exactly. And there's this really interesting part where Naomi talks about connecting to this energy without even using any substances. She says at one point, there's no need to talk. You just understand it. You experience it.
Wow. So it's like beyond words almost.
Yeah.
But if it's possible to do this without substances, why do people even use them at all then?
Naomi talks about that too. She says that without substances, it's a lot harder to let go, and trust the process. Like our human minds, with all our doubts and fears, kind of get in the way.
So it's not just about the tool itself, like hypnosis or a substance, but also about our willingness to just surrender to the experience.
Right. It speaks to the power of believing, of having that mindset that's open to guidance, from something beyond our limited human perspective.
That makes me think about her role in all of this. It's not like she's saying she is the source of this wisdom, right?
Yeah, you got it. Naomi sees herself as a conduit, a channel for this energy. And she even says that, the energy might change from session to session, but there's always an appropriate answer to what she's asking.
So it's not coming from her, personally, but from something way bigger.
Yeah. And that ties into this whole idea of a huge interconnected universe where everything has its purpose and is constantly communicating in ways we might not even realize.
This is already getting pretty mind-blowing, but I gotta ask, is there any scientific basis for any of this? Or is it all just suggestion?
That's a great question, and one that I think needs a lot more looking into. There's definitely a growing interest in what consciousness can do and how it's all connected to the universe, but a lot of it is still outside what mainstream science really gets.
So we're kind of in uncharted territory then, which makes it all the more interesting. But before we go too far down the rabbit hole, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. Those intense physical reactions Naomi has in the session.
Oh yeah. In the video, you can see her having these really dramatic body contractions, almost like she's physically affected by the energy that's coming through.
It's like you're watching a physical manifestation of the transformation, mentally and emotionally, that's happening inside her.
Exactly. And it really highlights how interconnected our physical and energetic selves really are. It's not just about getting information, but feeling it, on a deeper level.
And this ties into the whole microtransformations thing Naomi talks about. But what do those transformations actually look like in someone's life?
Well, it's like each insight, each time your understanding shifts, it's a small step, but it's significant, in this larger process of growing and evolving.
So not like a sudden change overnight, but more like a gradual kind of awareness.
Exactly. Naomi describes them as these aha moments, these subtle changes in how we see things, and they can ripple out and change how we see the world and even ourselves.
It's like updating your internal software, one microtransformation at a time.
And that's pretty powerful when you think about it. It means that we have the potential to always be evolving, to keep expanding our consciousness and how we understand the universe.
This is some seriously deep stuff. I think we've covered a lot of ground already in this first part of our deep dive into hypno-channeling with Naomi.
It really is fascinating stuff. It really is fascinating stuff. These micro transformations, they're like seeds of potential planted within us, right?
That's a really cool way to put it. But like, how do those seeds actually show up in someone's life? Any examples of people who have done hypno-channeling?
Well, it's hard to find specific examples because a lot of this is like personal, subjective. But there are some common things people report. They talk about feeling more clear, having a sense of purpose, feeling connected after these sessions. And sometimes they see shifts in their relationships or their careers or even just like how they see life in general.
So it's not just about learning stuff,
Yeah.
but actually using that knowledge in your life, making choices based on it.
Exactly. It's about going beyond just understanding these concepts and actually embodying them, living them.
That makes me think about what this could mean on a bigger scale. Like, if we can tap into this universal wisdom and let it guide us, what does that mean for us as humans? What's possible?
That's a question that's been around forever, right?
Right.
Philosophers, spiritual seekers, they've always wondered about this. If we can access this knowledge, this wisdom that's bigger than just our individual minds, well, it makes you think maybe our limits aren't so fixed after all.
It's like we're plugging into a collective intelligence, right?
Right.
This vast network of knowledge and experience we can all tap into.
Exactly. And that opens up so many possibilities when it comes to problem solving, being creative, even just how we understand the universe. Imagine the breakthroughs we could have if we could tap into this wisdom on a large scale.
It's exciting and kind of scary all at the same time. But I want to go back to Naomi's work for a minute. She doesn't just like lead these sessions, right?
Right, you're thinking of her books, The Next Level You. That whole series dives into raising your consciousness, transforming yourself, all that.
Oh, that's right. I saw those on Amazon. Yeah. Seems like they explore a lot of the same stuff we're talking about today.
Yep. Her books give you more of a framework, for understanding and applying these principles. They give you tools, techniques, all that, for connecting with your inner wisdom, getting past those beliefs that are holding you back, and really reaching your full potential.
So if our listeners are really into this whole hypno-channeling thing and want to go deeper, her books might be a good place to start.
For sure. And even if you're not like ready to try hypno channeling yourself, her books are still really insightful. Learning about consciousness, the power of your mind, all that.
This whole conversation has really like opened my mind up to what might be possible beyond what we usually think of as reality.
Yeah.
It's like we're just starting to scratch the surface here.
I totally agree. And even though there's so much we don't know about consciousness in the universe, exploring these less conventional approaches can give us a glimpse into a world of like infinite potential,
It really does feel that way. But I think that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. But wow, we've covered so much. Exploring hypno-channeling with Naomi has definitely sparked my curiosity and left me with this sense of wonder about the mysteries that are like right there beyond what we usually see.
It is pretty mind-blowing stuff. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to encourage everyone listening to keep that curiosity alive, keep asking questions, keep an open mind to the infinite possibilities both inside us and all around us. Who knows what amazing things you might discover.
It really does make you wonder, though, about like the ethics of it all. Hypno-channeling, is it safe?
Yeah, that's a really important thing to think about. Like any tool that messes with the mind, consciousness, hypno-channeling has to be approached carefully, respectfully.
I can see how it could be used to manipulate people or even hurt them if it's not done right.
Exactly. You need to be working with someone who knows what they're doing, someone ethical, who really understands the risks. And people who are trying it, they need to be careful too. Use good judgment. Don't just believe everything you hear.
So it's not just about finding a good hypnotist, but also being a responsible participant.
Totally. It's a two-way street. Both people, the practitioner and the person seeking guidance, they need to be aware of the potential impact and make sure it's for their own good.
Sounds like there's a lot to consider before jumping into hypno-channeling.
There is. It's not something to take lightly. But if you're drawn to exploring those deeper parts of yourself, connecting with your inner wisdom, it can be really powerful, really transformative.
Well, I think we've explored a lot in this deep dive into hypno-channeling with Naomi. It's definitely something that makes you think, question what we think we know about reality and all that.
It does, doesn't it? And as we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with one last thought. Whether hypno-channeling is your thing or not, I think it's important to stay curious about the world around us and inside us. Keep exploring, keep asking those questions, and keep an open mind to what might be possible beyond what we see every day. You never know what you might find.
Well said. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into hypno-channeling.
I like
We hope it's
to
left you with a
invite
sense of
this
wonder
energy
and
that
maybe
can
some
be
new possibilities
the
to
mushroom
explore.
energy from last night, or the energy for, I'm not sure, for the mushroom or for this session. Whatever the appropriate energy, I like to ask questions for me to understand a little bit more, so I can learn more. If you can come through, and when I count to 3, you'll be here. And thank you for being here in advance. 1 and 2 and 3. Is this the mushroom energy for last night? Yes. I feel the energy is a little bit different from the one I took before. What do you can?
It's vibrating higher.
Because what?
The people who grew it, their intentions just aligns.
So I can go, I feel so much deeper. And also I feel like I can be almost conscious, but as soon as I want to go within, then I can go very deep, but without feeling too dramatic. What is the mushrooms teaching?
About life,
And how we're connected with the universe?
how things affect each other.
So what's the difference between this teaching and also from ayahuasca? What's the main difference?
Why is there a focus on the difference?
Is to understand more?
They serve the same purpose, yes.
Say one more time.
They serve the same purpose, yes.
Same purpose. So it's very similar.
The idea is to not focus on the difference, but rather what both can bring.
Right. So I feel they can almost serve the same purpose. I don't feel much difference.
Of course, but again, it's also like a permission slip. It really highly depends on the person's intentions and their energy, how they react to it.
Right. Of course. Yeah. So do you know that when I was channeling my higher self?
You were channeling higher energies and higher channels. And within that channel, there's many more different representations of how you see them. For example, you may see them as your higher self. You may also see them as your spirit guides or past versions of yourself, parallel versions of yourself that are in spirit with you.
So it's a group.
Yes, you can say it's a group. It's a collective of energy. It's a collection of energy that are related to you, that you see have value or that can offer you guidance, yes.
So I can do that without a medicine?
You're always connected. You were just made aware that you are more connected.
But I tried it without medicine, then it's just...
Then why are you trying? What is there to try?
You just do
when
it.
you just trust, you just do it.
Right, because with the medicine, I would say I trust more. That's the difference.
You just take off your human armor, your human preset, human mind, and you just automatically trust.
Right.
But as humans, you have a lot more restrictions in the sense where there are some rules as to how you can think and what you can perceive.
Right. I can see when you're saying that. I can see myself. I just can overcome that.
It's just tapping into that energy. Just know that you can because you're doing it.
But then I feel like it's hard to talk a little bit because it's deep, and so the voice becomes like...
There's no need to talk. You just understand it to experience it.
But when I talk, I visualize. I talk about what I was visualizing, and it's so easy. So that's my way.
Yeah.
Right. So I can maybe do that because I want to get the message out. So now because the medicine making me understand it's possible.
This instrument that I am channeling through at the moment, she is calling to try it as well. There's a calling, I feel it.
You are
the medicine itself.
So every time it's you?
No. I cannot say that will be the same exact me every time. But there will always be an appropriate energy to answer your questions. As the universe works in magical ways, every piece has its part.
I see. And also there's a body contraction. I do that often when I have...
It's just energy moving within your physical body. Because it's energy that affects your physical body, and it's just expressed in many different ways.
I see. But that's just my body condition.
Yes.
So when that happens, I can say I know there's energy, or is there? I feel when I'm doing that, there's standing, there's something new. I feel. Do you sense that? There's some
New realizations, yes, and it can very much well also be different perspective of the same things that you have been looking at. That's the beauty of everything.
it's like some sort of a micro transformation.
Yeah.
Very good. I really appreciate this communication, and I'm very honored speaking with you, and I will speak with you in the future. Thanks again.